station. This is Bobo FM.
The views and opinions expressed by the following program and its participants are solely their own opinions and do not represent the opinions of DMS Broadcasting and have no affiliation to the BBC.
At the Health Services Authority, we want to keep you informed about the latest developments that impact your health because your health matters to us. Join us each Friday and Saturday from 1 to 2 p.m. as we cover health news, offer advice, and answer your questions on Healthcare Today with HSA.
Do you have a healthcare question but not sure who to ask? Contact HSA's Patient Call Center to speak to one of our experienced clinical team members. We are here to answer your questions and help guide you through your healthcare journey. Need to make an appointment? Our team can help. Contact HSA at 949-8600 or email info@hsa.ky. At HSA, we are committed to caring for you.
Welcome to Bobo 103.1 FM. It's Dane hanging out with you here. And every single week, we do a very special show dedicated to all things healthcare, but healthcare around HSA. And today we have the pleasure of having two very special guests with us. Usually we are talking about different departments that are now opening in HSA, an experience area, or maybe there's a workshop that's taking place or a conference. But I do have the lovely Simone and Mia joining me here in the studios. You may have heard them before on our radio stations, our sister stations, Kiss, Hot, Magic, where they were talking about obviously celebrating the month of March all around diet. Right. And it's obviously March is nutritional or National Nutritional Month. And why is this a very important topic? Well, we're going to find out with Mia and Simone today on the show. Ladies, welcome to the studio. Good morning. Yeah, nice to see you guys again. We had the pleasure of speaking before, of course, on Magic. Right. And you guys were talking about just how important diet is. And we kind of joked and we said, this is a very important topic, not only for March, but your entire life, especially once you pass that age, I think, of 20 going into your 30s or 40s. You kind of got to watch what you're eating a little bit more. And I was told this when I hit my 30s, and people always joked about it. It was like, dang, you gotta eat more better than that. I'm like, I'm good. I don't feel anything when I eat this food, so I'm good. But we're going to dig a little bit into that today and show why it's important to be concerned about what you are actually putting into your body. And I think there's a very popular saying that goes, I don't remember it now, but I will find it. But just being careful what you eat, like you are what you eat, or eat to live and not live to eat. I think that's the saying. I think that's the saying. It makes sense when I say it. Does it?
No, that is definitely one. Yeah. And you are what you eat is another. So you're right on both counts.
Yeah, exactly. I think there was this Netflix documentary too, which we'll also talk about on the show.
Yep.
That talked about research that was done on just different food that were taken in by individuals. And I was shocked because there was this research that was done just miles away from each other where people were living, where there were more whole foods that were available and people were living from the land. And then there was a next section right across the bridge. There was a section that was fast food and just different quick options. And people in that section lived a very shorter time compared to the whole food section. And people were living from the land. They were living into their 70s and 80s. And it was a very compelling documentary. So it was one that I would recommend anybody. I'll find the name of it when I come back on the show. I'll let you guys know what that show was called. But it was very popular on Netflix for a while. But ladies, the first question I wanted to kind of jump into is why is this an important topic and an important month in the Cayman Islands?
So Nutrition Month is huge. It is just a good emphasis on trying to remember to eat healthier and put a little bit more fruits and vegetables into your plate as best you can, increase your fiber, things like that. Theme of this Nutrition Month is the power of nutrition. So remembering that what you put on your plate can have an impact on how you're feeling, how you're doing, everything like that.
Yeah. Anything you want to add, Simone?
Yeah, exactly what Mia said. It's a whole lifestyle approach. So it's down to planning in terms of your shopping, what you decide as a family you want to put together in the menu. Because sometimes there's an expectation that one parent will do a lot of that work.
Yeah.
But ideally, as a parent who's usually the assigned parent to do that work in my household, I usually like to say, would anybody like to chime in? Who wants what on Wednesday, Thursday? And then collectively, if they don't usually want to accompany me to the supermarket, but then I might say, can you do this to help? Whether it's, and even though there may be, my children are older now, but even if they're in their teens, helping peel the potatoes, helping rinse the rice, helping grab the cabbage out of the fridge, helping remove the skin off the chicken. Simple tasks like that can help in the household, but it helps with the planning, execution, cooking, And it's a vital skill set that sometimes, a lot of times these days, everyone's so busy, everything's about convenience. Pick up on the road, pick up from bento or get it delivered. And sometimes we lose those skills that are so vital for maintaining healthy eating going forward. I mean, I personally would love, for example, if there was an opportunity to teach young kids who are teenagers who are leaving and ready to go off to university about making healthy choices, living on a budget, planning meals with a student's budget, how to do things easy. Things don't always have to be hard, and cook from scratch. So, there's a lot of scope there to educate kids, and that can start in the house with meal planning, execution, serving it up, making extra, which Mia always loves to recommend as well.
Yeah.
So you have leftovers for the next day, because nobody wants to come home every day and roll up the sleeves and have to do everything from scratch.
Yeah, it's a little bit difficult, and that's why I think a lot of the fast foods get involved around that time, because when you think about going home and having to cook again, and you look in this, on the corner of your eyes and you see there's a fast food restaurant that's popping up every area on this island, you choose that first, right? That's usually the option you go to. Simone, you said you were a mom. You have older kids now. How old are your kids?
Well, my youngest is only 17.
He's only 17.
While my oldest is 23. And I have one in between, 19. Who's away at university. But she's picking up some skills in the cookery department now. Because she's had to. Deep end. She's jumped in the deep end.
Because that never stops, right? Because you never stop being a mom and telling them how important
Well,
it is.
even when I'm at work, if I'm working late, I still get a phone call at 6:30 or so. What's for dinner?
Yes.
I'm thinking, I'm staying late at work on purpose, so I don't have to go home and cook dinner.
Yeah.
And I'm still, then they're calling and saying, what are we going to have for dinner? And I'm like, darn, I have to go to the supermarket and pick up something. Yeah, but it's, planning meals. And the good news is there are so many great resources out there that you can access. Even TikTok, has some great recipe. I'm not a TikTok person myself, but Mia's great on social media. Instagram, she's your woman for that.
Mia's going to talk to us all about what you can find on TikTok. We're going to have that conversation later on in the show. But I want to know also, guys, what's your role? What's your, what does your day look like, and how important is your role at HSA?
Well, I think, of course, I'm a little biased, but I'm going to say that the dietitian's role at HSA is huge because we see a lot of patients that are referred from doctors that are like, if someone is a newly diagnosed diabetic, or if they're having trouble with their blood pressure, or I know we sometimes see gestational diabetes on like same day as they're diagnosed.
Yeah.
And anything that can turn up in the pediatric population, we see all the pediatrics patients as well. We see the oncology patients, anyone going to women's health, dialysis. So we have a diverse range of work that we do.
Yeah.
But I do feel it's very important work because it's nutrition, which is the foundation for many, many conditions to help people get better. Not always get better, but to manage their health conditions.
Well, I'm glad you said that, Simone, because, my aunt had a situation where she was going back and forth to the doctors for a very long time. And she was becoming very ill for some reason. And doctors were extremely concerned. And, they put her on a very strict diet. That's the first thing that they did. And I think they spoke to her about like stuff that she needed to consume. But her husband was already living that type of life where he was kind of living just very strict on what he ate. Extremely strict. We call it picky, but he was just more disciplined in eating the right food. She tried that for 3 months straight. Her last visit to the doctor, the words that he used is like, I'm not sure what happened. I can't explain it, but I kind of feel like there's nothing wrong. Like it was reversed. And he had to ask her, what are you doing? What changes have you made? And she said, I changed my diet. So, when Mia said, I'm kind of biased because I feel like we play an important role, I think it's the most important role at the hospital, because if you really do follow your diet to the fullest and you are disciplined in that area, I think you will have less doctor visits, to be honest with you.
And you don't even have to be ill to see a dietitian. That's the thing. That's one aspect of what we do, but we also do a lot of wellness promotion. So you have normal states like pregnancy, breastfeeding, menopause, which is a normal part of a life for a woman. We can give you a lot of good guidance in those stages of your life as well. So it's not just, if you're sick, you need to see the dietitian. That is one aspect of the broad role that we can provide and advice that we can provide.
Absolutely. Simone and Mia, I kind of feel like you guys could have been doing anything you want in life. You could have chose anything. You could have been a doctor, Simone, and Mia, you could have been a social media manager. Why this career?
I grew up knowing that food was important, right? Everyone, like you eat every day. Everyone eats every day. But at a certain point, it's kind of cool to think that like how you change your diet can change how you're feeling, or like you can, if you add more of this, you'll get more of X nutrient, or more of this and you'll get more of Y nutrient. It's just such a cool concept. And then of course, as you do at 15 or 16, I didn't know what I was going to do with the rest of my life. And I spent a good few hours taking personality quizzes, and registered dietitian came up on every single one.
Wow,
every single one.
Wow.
That's so good. So good. And it seems like you're passionate about it too.
Of course.
Yeah. I
And
love
she's
that.
exceptionally good at her job.
Yeah, I can see that. I can
As
see
are
that for
you.
sure. That's why I had to ask the question. And with Simone, what was it for you?
Well, for me, to be honest, my youngest sister, when she was born, she was very unwell. And it took, I mean, you're going back to the 80s in rural Ireland. Okay, so, you wouldn't have the access to medical care. There was no such thing as internet then or any of that. But she was quite unwell for the first year of her life and was in and out of hospital a lot. And in the end, she was diagnosed with something called celiac disease, which meant that she had to follow a gluten-free diet. Basically, at that time, it was considered for life. And my mom was not good in the kitchen, really hates the kitchen. She would give us all pills if she could, instead of feeding us. That was always her preference. So she said, one meal for everybody. So everyone in this house is on a gluten-free diet, like it or not. So we grew up on a gluten-free diet because for my mum, with 7 kids in my house, would have been too much for her to make one thing for one person and something else for the other 6. So from that age, from when my sister was little, I was already interested in, because when she went onto the gluten-free diet, we saw within 6 to 12 months, she started to do better. She was gaining weight. She didn't look as pale. And so I saw firsthand how influential and how effective a specific diet can be in a person. So right there, I was personally hooked because I thought, that's amazing.
It's a great story. I love that. And will I survive around a dinner table with you guys, or would you judge my meal harshly? Will I see it on your face? Do you do that? Are you the individuals that you go out with your friends and you're like, well, you shouldn't be eating that, and you tell them?
Not really.
We both studied nutrition because we love food, right?
Yeah.
So we can appreciate that something is delicious,
Yes.
as well as appreciate the nutrition quality, right?
I'm just talking about, and hear me out when I say this, because I do this with my eyes. Like, I would go out with Mike. I'll mention Mike, and Mike is okay with me mentioning this because we joke about this all the time. But I would go out for lunch with Mike, and Mike is eating a very delicious meal. But then he orders this dessert, which I can never make it to dessert for some reason. If I eat an appetizer and my meal, I'm done. There's no possible way. Don't sell me on dessert. It's not going to happen. But then I see Mike comes in with this, like, beautiful dessert. Don't get me wrong. Large bacon, ice cream, brownies, just different things cluttered all around it. And yeah, you can see with my eyes that I am judging a little bit. So it started off as a joke, but I also want to know, this is not questions that were directly put on your list of things that were supposed to be asked, but people that are driving in the car right now are asking, man, should I be doing that when I'm out? Should I be getting rid of the appetizer, focusing on the main, and then eating the dessert, or switch it around, do my appetizer and my main and get rid of the dessert? Because a lot of people sometimes consume it all. And I think sometimes that your body tells you, hey, I had a little bit too much a few minutes ago. So I want to hear from the experts. Is that something I should be looking out for when I do go out? I'm not going to point at people and say, don't do that. But I want to be obviously very careful for me because I read research before, but these, once again, are individuals that may have gone rogue, that have said, don't eat appetizers when you're out. Focus on your main course. And if you have space, do the dessert and keep it light.
I usually like to say that especially when you're eating out, be a food critic. Focus on what you really, really like.
Yeah.
Try to stick to things that are going to be a priority or the most important to you. Of course, you can always swap things out. I'm not bashing that at all. I would you want to enjoy yourself, but also with the mindset of, okay, what is going to make this a balanced meal, right? So maybe you add something here so that you can get away with a little bit more here and a little bit of balance. If you want to add anything to that?
Absolutely. I mean, I agree wholeheartedly. And always asking questions when you're ordering food, a bit like when Harry met Sally. How is that being cooked? Can I have the sauce on the side?
Yeah.
Does that come with vegetables or salad instead of fries? Things like that. And then usually if you're eating out, typically you're with other people.
Yeah.
2, 3, 4, depending. So, there's no reason why a dessert can't be shared. And you can have a sample, but not necessarily eat the entire thing. Or you can get it to go. Some restaurants will offer an entree size or an appetizer size, not for dessert, but for main courses. So if you feel like you don't want to eat more than what they serve, you can always order an appetizer size of that main course and take the second half home, or maybe ask for an extra salad on the side.
Yeah.
Because we know restaurants are in the business of making money.
Yeah.
So they're not going to want to give you a lot of what's expensive. They're going to give you a lot of what's cheaper for them because it's going to improve their profit margins, right? So, you sometimes have to ask for more of something that you know is a good idea. And then in the end of the day, when you're eating out, it's about socializing as well. So, it's enjoying the experience, but also having maybe some limits or shared dishes with others at the table. Also speaking to your friends or family before you go out and say, look, I'm on a bit of a health kick.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to want to have any dessert tonight. I'm only going to have one glass of wine. So if you order a bottle, just don't pressure me to take a second glass, for example. I'm going to follow a half a glass of wine with a glass of water. Just things that you plan and speak ahead so people are understanding in that setting, in that environment as well.
Yeah.
And then the selection of where you're going to go to eat. Most restaurants cook food to order.
Yeah.
But some will have a buffet situation there, where it's already been pre-cooked. And sometimes when you approach the buffet, you can see quite easily, well, there's a layer of oil on top of that one, for example. So just using as much judgment as you can in terms of how much of that particular dish that has all that oil on the top that you would select from, and then stick some extra veggies in there to kind of help offset it.
Buffets are so dangerous because you just kind of feel like, man, I like this, I like that, I like this. I want to get the whole entire thing. So I kind of find that buffets can be a little bit dangerous sometimes.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's being mindful, looking at what you see, obviously, and saying, well, yeah, like I agree with what you stated. Too much oil there. Maybe I should stay away from that, get that, and lean into that a little bit more. Ladies, I'm enjoying the conversation. We got a whole lot more coming up soon. We've reached our first break segment, so we're going to take a quick commercial break. And when we come back, we'll dig deeper into just watching your diet, your nutrition, and find out more about the role that you guys play at HSA. And we'll talk more about the month and activities that you guys are going to be doing for this month in March. And also following it after March, which is the big one, right? So keep it locked. It is Bobo 103.1 FM.
The Health Services Authority has over 120 world-class physicians offering the most comprehensive range of specialist services on island. Our dedicated team of professionals provide the highest quality care in orthopedics, interventional radiology, women's health, geriatrics, and a host of other specialist areas. We are a JCI accredited organization with a proven record of excellence. At HSA, we are committed to caring for you. For more information, visit hsa.ky.
Welcome back to the show. We just took a quick commercial break, and now we are back. Our discussion today is around diet, nutrition, and of course, celebrating the month of March. This is going to be a big topic for March, and we're going to hear from the ladies here soon on just why and if they have any activities planned for this month. Now, what I do want to ask is, what are some of the simple ways that people in Cayman can start improving their nutrition today? Like, it's okay if you're not doing it before or you're not thinking about it today, but we want to give you a jump start. We want to let you know that it can start at any time, and anybody can take this question and kind of lead that.
For sure. We can always add an extra vegetable at lunch and dinner, or even at breakfast. So if you happen to be having eggs at breakfast, throw in some frozen spinach, or dice in a tomato or some mushrooms or whichever. We can always swap out a white bread for a whole wheat bread. We can do all sorts of different things.
Yeah.
Add in some extra fiber into meals. If we're having porridge, we could add chia seeds or some extra berries. We could do all sorts of things.
Yeah, I love that. How about you, Simone?
Yeah, as well as those strategies, which are all excellent. If you're a snacker, planning your snacks, not finding yourself going down the road to maybe a gas station or some other convenience store, and then they only have X, Y, and Z available. So you find yourself reaching for those very processed, salted, no nutritional value snacks.
Yeah.
Regular meat eating pattern is important. So a lot of times I come across people, adults and sometimes kids, but adults especially, they skip breakfast. They're too busy. They're rushing in the mornings, and breakfast is a meal. And then by 10 o'clock, they're crashing and they get an urge for something sweet, something chocolatey, something. Or everything, because you're genuinely hungry.
Very
Whole
hungry.
pantry.
Yeah.
Gone.
Yeah.
I did that for a while. Thought I was, what is it? Fasting has become a very popular thing.
Intermittent fasting.
Yeah. And I found that, like, I would skip lunch sometimes because I'm like, I can go a little bit longer. And by the time I get home, instant headache. I feel like obviously gas has taken over, but then everything you see, you just eat. everything. You just had a full dinner, and all of a sudden you're snacking from the cabinet, and you say, "Oh, let me go back in the fridge. There must be something else," and I'm hungry. And you get into bed. The worst, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock in the night, and you're like, "Oh, I think I need to go back downstairs for something I did." And your justification is not only women that can justify their purchase, but it's men when they're waking up at 11 o'clock and be like, "Well, I didn't eat the entire day, so I can eat as much calories as I want." Right? So that's something I find that happens a lot. Guys, it is National Nutrition Month this month, right? So one of your teams behind this has discovered the power of nutrition. What does that mean? I feel like it speaks for itself.
Yep.
But I want to see if you guys have like a deeper meaning behind it. But if it's not, then you guys can say, nope, it's pretty much what it is, Dave. It speaks for itself. Go ahead.
It definitely speaks for itself, but it's also just knowing that you have a little bit of power with what you put on your plate, right? So just taking some of that back a little bit.
Food and nutrition is your power source. It's your energy source for your body. Every cell, every organ in the body requires energy to function. And so your nutritional intake, your calorie intake, your energy, that is vital. And that is the power of your nutrition. It's about how much you take, where that comes from, what nutrients, because sometimes it's what we put in as much as what we take out of our diets as well. That ensures that really good balance of the key nutrients. Things like omega-3s, which can help reduce inflammation, which also help with the lipids and the cholesterol issue. There are many advantages to using omega-3s, for example. So it's really what we put in as much as what we put out.
Yeah. I feel like nutrition is just a very important topic, but can we literally point out the elephant in the room and talk about why is it important for our community here in Cayman, especially in Cayman? Because I kind of felt like when I had folks down here, yeah, there were things that we were doing like Stingray City and different activities that we were a part of, but I kind of felt like the most attraction that they had was food also. And it was good food, but a lot of it was very oily food and just different fried type food. And so I wanted to really ask that question because I kind of feel like when you come to the Caribbean, the food is really good, but a lot of it sometimes you cannot consume a lot of it, right? So can we talk about why nutrition is very important for the Cayman Islands?
Well, I love a good plate of cooked food just as much as everyone, right? But it can definitely be very heavy on, like as you said, the fried foods and the starchy foods and things like that. So being able to create that balance, so adding a little bit more vegetables. So like if you buy a plate of food, usually what's considered a vegetable or the salad is like 2 lettuce leaves and a piece of tomato, which I wouldn't really consider a portion of vegetables. So trying to create a little bit more balance is going to be so important because we tend to go overboard with a lot of different foods, especially if we're having
a celebration.
Exactly. Like if you have people visiting, you're going to go take them to all the really delicious, a lot of, sorry, apologies.
No, it's all good. You're good. Yeah, like local dishes. They're starch heavy. Yeah. They've got a bit of rice, a bit of yam, a finger of green banana, some fried plantain, and a side dish can sometimes be mac and cheese.
Mm-hmm.
What's the other one? Coleslaw, potato salad.
Yeah, I wouldn't like potato salad is not a salad. Yeah. So, but it gets treated like it is, right? So it's
they heard
kind
the word salad.
Yeah, it's lumped in. It's lumped in with like the vegetable when it really shouldn't be, but that's okay.
Yeah, man. I know that when I find things out like that, like when I used to be that type of thinker and be like, well, yeah, this is actually healthy when I'm eating this, as long as I'm not eating rice when I'm eating this, and you find out that some of the food that you compare to the food that it was bad, it's actually even worse. If you're actually not looking into what you're eating more of. And I find like a lot of people don't do that here. They don't look into what they're eating, and it's okay to eat it. I want that message to be resonated from this radio program. It's okay to eat it, but I never found myself losing the amount of weight that I recently lost until I started to say, well, it depends on how much times I eat it though. Like it's always in moderation. Like there's some foods that I've given up that used to be my favorite food. I don't no longer eat it like every single day, right? Like fried chicken is a big deal for me and my family. We love that. The Cayman style fried chicken. Mm-hmm. If there was ever a time we couldn't cook, we were ordering that from a restaurant, right? Because it's so good, especially the sauce. But then over the months that passed, we found ourselves like gaining a tremendous amount of weight. And when we pulled back from that and started to cook more and be careful what we put in our plate, without the gym, I lost 30 pounds. That was incredible.
Wow.
So it just goes to show. But I still had that meal at least once a week or once a month. So I never got rid of it. I just treated it like it was a gift, like it was
Yeah.
a treat for myself.
Yeah.
Every so often. So you can enjoy food, folks, but it just wouldn't consume the wrong one all the time.
I mean, I think obviously we know in the Cayman Islands we've got a wide, diverse range of cultures,
We do.
backgrounds.
Yeah.
So there's traditional Caribbean style food, but we also have food that comes from Philippines, India,
India, yeah.
all that good stuff too. You know, and it's natural for us to gravitate towards what we know per se. And like you say, a lot of these dishes can be healthy. You just have to be more aware of how did you cook that, how much of it did you put on your plate, and did you balance it out with the vegetables? And to kind of revert back to the first part of your question a moment ago, something to do with nutrition and the community, I just wanted to highlight, and people are aware of it, I know already, the STEP survey that was recently repeated from the one that was done 10 years before. And unfortunately, though I don't have all those results in front of me, I think the overall message is that we haven't really made many strides in tackling some of the key issues, health issues in the Cayman Islands. And one of those, unfortunately, is obesity. And it applies from school-age children to adolescence and into adult life. So it's still a very much an ongoing, and it's a global problem. It's not unique to the Cayman Islands. But, you know, we have to begin to start getting a bit more serious about addressing these significant health problems where we're approaching the mid-40s, I think, for obesity and 50s for obesity and overweight, something in that ballpark. I might be wrong in the exact number there. I apologize, but I know it's in that range.
Yeah.
So, you know, we have to start with the school children, the school meals, but also what happens at home and educating families. And it can happen from the bottom up too. Children can come home and say, Mom, I heard this at school, or Dad, I'd like to try this, something different that I haven't had before. I have that in my own house where my 17-year-old's gone berserk into the gym and he's literally checking every label of everything that comes into the house. And now I'm literally afraid to bring certain things into the house because he will let it sit there and won't eat it. And so I'm already knowledgeable in that field. But if I was a person who wasn't, you know, I would think, well, it's a good idea to listen to our children for getting these messages at school because they can bring a lot to the table, excuse the pun, with this knowledge, you know?
Absolutely. Which leads me into my next question, which I just found out recently with something that I ate that I didn't even know that could have been a natural coffee. But I'll talk about it after you guys answer this question is how does nutrition impact our daily energy and just how productive we are? Both the negative and the positive. That's why I want to bring up a story very soon, just on a different resource that you can make when you're seeking energy that I found out recently in my age. And I felt ridiculous about it. But let's answer this question first.
Well, I know that we can try to, in terms of energy, I know the impulse is to go for something sugary if you're crashing, right? But trying to avoid those really concentrated sources of added sugar can be really helpful that way because we're not going to have as much of a crash afterwards. So if we're looking for a snack, we're crashing in the middle of the day, we can try to create a little bit more of a balanced snack. So like having maybe an apple with some almonds or something and kind of create a little bit of balance. So you've got like the fiber in the apple, you've got some healthy fats and some protein in the nuts, which can kind of create a little bit more of a longer lasting snack.
Yeah.
In terms of our energy levels for the day. So we're not going to have as much of like a sugar spike and then a crash, you know?
Yeah. I was reading that recently on TikTok too, of all
Yeah?
the places. Yeah. I was talking about the like things that you can, especially if you are close to being diabetic, or you don't want to get there, or if you're on a non-sugar diet, that you're not going to consume sugar, they were given like different samples of what you can eat. And it was like, I remember this one where sliced apples, especially for the kids, and you put in almond butter or something like that. Is that correct?
Delicious.
Yeah. I never thought about things like that, like the substitutes and things.
cinnamon on
Yeah, because a doctor once told me, you know, when we brought our son in, and he was saying, you know what, he's gaining a little bit of weight. And then he was very nice about it, how he approached it, right? But he stated to me, you know, what they don't see, they won't eat. So if you were bringing these things into the house, then he's not blaming us, but he's saying if they're seeing it, they're going to eat it. So if you replace that now with something else like apple, the almond butters, different things, that's what he sees now. So he's going to eat it, and you're going to have less of the problem of him obviously gaining more weight. And he was right. He was absolutely right. I never thought about it that way. But a lot of the times, parents, I get it. You're trying to please the kids with what you bring into the house. And, they like that Dorito chips and these Oreos. We got to get the big ones of it and stuff, the new flavor. But it can also be a detriment to our kids too, right? So we just got to I don't want to speak as an expert. I'm just speaking as a parent. That,
But parents are
'cause I'm not an
experts.
expert. Just speaking as a parent.
You're an expert in your own child, though.
Exactly. Yes, I've seen the results of overdoing it sometimes, and now we kind of treat it now like it's a treat. So if you've done what you're supposed to do for this week, I have no problem with getting you a pack of Oreos, and treating you that way. But just not, that can't be every day.
And something that we haven't really touched on yet so far has been the importance of physical activity.
Yeah.
And screen time, which we know is a big challenge for children, because at school they're sitting down, they get their homework assigned often on a computer. They're responding with an electronic answers and different things. And then there's that pressure to be on social media. If you miss one night, you're not going to know what such and such said about such and such. And there's this pressure to like and follow. And then all of a sudden it's bedtime.
Yeah.
And a lot of times we find when talking to adolescents and children, but adults can be faulty of this or guilty of this as well, is there could be 6 or 7 hours of screen time a day. And if you do the math and more on the weekends, you're into the 60, 70, 80 hour number for screen time. And that is a big concern. A good few years ago, there was a study done. I apologize if I can't remember the name of the people who did the study, but it was something like WHO. And they selected children from 40 countries around the world and just assessed their physical activity levels. And unfortunately, the Cayman Islands, the children that they tested or surveyed at the time, were considered the least active children out of all of the 40 countries that they surveyed.
Wow.
And that was 10 plus years ago now, but it was a massive eye opener. But it's also just the pressure of, trying to be cool and being on social media and that type of thing. And it's difficult. So there are always going to be children who are going to do the sports, the rugby, the football, the track and field. We know they're exceptionally brilliant at track and field, swimming. And there are opportunities. But unfortunately, some of these activities cost money. And so that can be a deterrent sometimes, is the cost prohibitive aspect.
Yeah.
But also you don't need to have a lot of money. If you have a skipping rope, you can walk the beach, you can swim, you can play football in any kind of field really with your friends. There's lots of fun things that you can still do. I mean, we grew up playing hopscotch, and my mother never signed us up for any formal physical things. But we would just play hopscotch in front of our house, skipping rope, play chase, hide and seek. Not that we're expecting high school children to hide and seek, but like encouraging the physical is the point we're trying to get at,
Such that was well said, Simone, because I don't think a parent has ever said, if you do it, I get it. When you get home, you're tired. The hustle and the bustle of life, it drains you. And the last thing you want to do is go outside and do a physical activity, right? But it's so worth it, because I've never heard a parent said, man, I regret going outside and doing that skipping rope or playing ball with my son or my daughter. So those things have never, or I regret going to the beach or walk on the beach. Never heard anybody said that, right? So it's taking that extra step and that extra effort to just go out there and just make it happen, which is extremely important, I think, in these age, because I see so many kids, and I'm glad that you touched on that topic. And this one is a very big one for me. Is just like, I remember I couldn't touch energy drinks when I was younger. I just couldn't. Like, my mom would never allow that, and I kind of felt like it was a society on a whole, right, in the country. But now, they're literally pouring out different energy flavors and drinks for kids. Kids are drinking coffee at a very young age. They're drinking substances that they're not supposed to be taking in. Like, there are more sports schools that are promoting that you should be taking these protein shakes with these excessive amount of proteins that are not meant for kids if you really read the ingredients. I think a new one is called, for a lot of sports kids that are in the age of 14 and up, it's creatine or something like that.
Yep, creatine.
That's a big one. That is a huge one. And I just recently had to sit my son down and explain, I don't think you should be consuming this. Have you read what this can be doing to your body if you're taking this in? So I'm concerned on just the steps that we are taking to protect our kids early. And then, we question when we see a 28-year-old drop down from playing basketball of a heart attack. We're questioning that. And I don't think we should. I think we should look at what has shifted, what has changed, and how early are these kids consuming the things that they're not supposed to.
I mean, there's an old age expression or adage that says it takes a village.
Yeah.
And I really do believe raising kids, it involves parents, grandparents, friends, neighbors, schools, churches, community. So, we can keep everybody closer to be on track if we're all engaged in and invested in the the health of our youth and children. And we know that there's a big push towards the mental health side of things as well.
Absolutely.
So, I think everything you're saying is all relevant. And so we just have to execute these strategies as a government and as an organization and as families. And there is a tremendous amount of community support I do see in the Cayman Islands all the time. It always impresses me.
Yeah.
So we just got to keep going with it, really, and keep getting into those schools and educating those children about, not just nutrition, but all the other aspects of what we were discussing here this morning as well.
Absolutely. Guys, I also want to ask before we go on to the next break, can you kind of give us just a detailed look on the services that HSA Clinical, the Dietetics and the nutrition team provide?
We provide medical nutrition therapy, so that is something that needs to come from a registered dietitian, which is more of a protected term. So medical nutrition therapy can come in the form of nutrition counseling or very specific, like tailored evidence-based information, or like diet modifications for specific chronic diseases or obesity or like hypertension, everything like that. But we also will see people for just wellness, general wellness, trying to like improve diet and lifestyle that way as well. So it doesn't have to be a problem per se, but you can always come see us.
Yeah, love that.
And we run a lot of health fairs, and we
absolutely.
participate, like the ag shows, one we just did very recently, and we're there for the day. And if someone has questions regarding anything to do with nutrition, diet, lifestyle, they're more than welcome to come and approach us. And these health fairs happen all year.
Did you guys have a lot of people approach you at the?
The mornings are always extra busy. Yeah, we did actually a nice steady number. I don't know what that number was.
Yeah.
But we had free screening, and then we had resources, and then people just enjoyed the opportunity to ask questions.
Love that. Guys, we're going to take a quick, short commercial break. When we come back, we'll definitely talk more on this topic. It's been really good. If you have any questions, please don't be afraid to send it through to, of course, our Instagram at Bobo 103.1 FM. You can do the same for Facebook.
Health Services Authority is now offering online payment options for patients. Patients of HSA can now pay their bills, including deposits, towards scheduled services online at payments.hsa.ky. The secure, new online payment system accepts debit or credit cards and is in addition to the available payment options of cash, check, and online bank transfer. For quick, easy, and secure payment directly from your phone or computer, visit HSA's new online payment system at payments.hsa.ky.
Hey, welcome to the show. It's Bobo 103.1 FM. We are back from our quick, short, and very quick commercial break. And we still have the young ladies here with us here in the studios from HSA. Of course, Simone and Mia is joining us, and we're talking all about nutrition in the month of March and celebrating it too, but not obviously only for March, but past this month. We want to take more, of course, care of our health by watching what we eat and what we consume, and just being more take more education in about this topic. Now, I did ask earlier just some of the services that you guys offer at HSA in this department. What I do want to ask is, what type of patients typically do you guys work with around diet in this department? Obviously, what type of patients do you guys usually see?
We see a lot of a huge variety of patients, anywhere from babies or pregnant women all the way through to the older population as well. We also go to some of the districts as well as the sister islands sometimes as well. It's particularly fun for me as I grew up in West Bay. I get to go to West Bay Clinic every so often, which is so fun.
I love that. All right, yeah. And for you, Simone?
Yeah, I mean, in the adult population, we will see everything from the well-known cholesterol, hypertension, those types of scenarios, cholesterol scenarios, but we will see, and we're seeing more and more and more unusual cases because there are so many specialists on the island nowadays in terms of physicians and specialty areas. And years ago, a lot of these patients might have been referred overseas, but now they're staying on island because they can get some of that expert help.
Yeah.
So we deal with even complex allergy type scenarios, complex anti-inflammatory conditions, gut related stuff. We have patients with significant gut problems, and we have them on home IV nutrition, which is a new service we started in 2025. it's quite a complex, multidisciplinary approach to managing those scenarios, because patients want to be at home and they don't need to be in hospital for that, but it is a very complex scenario to manage. And some of these are brand new services to the Cayman Islands. And so we're always learning, we're always trying to research things ourselves. We do CMEs, continuous medical education, we attend conferences, we bounce things off each other to get more help and more input. Mia's a good bit younger than me, so she comes with a whole new skill set that I don't have. She's also a master's and she's brilliant on the computer. I didn't grow up with computers. Yeah. So I'm constantly, Mia, what does this button do? Yeah. And she's always helping me out, but then I might have more experience in certain fields, so we bounce things and we complement each other in that regard. And same with our colleague who works in the community. You know, we're there to support her and she also supports us. But we will see pretty much everything nowadays, including things like inborn nerve metabolism in young children that we would not have come across before. Wow. Rare conditions, babies and children coming back from overseas, and they have got peg tubes for enteral feeding. No, so they don't take by mouth, they take through these tubes. So it's really quite a diverse range of types of patients that we see. And we have to really draw on our skills and knowledge and learn when we can. Yeah.
And of course, the more popular stuff now as well with the GLP-1s and helping people manage all of any side effects with those as well can be another one that we see very regularly. Yeah.
I'm glad that we got to touch on this because, you know, when you think dietitian, you only think about, okay, they're just going to give me advice on what to eat. But then obviously there's so many different, there's a larger scope to your job and your specialty because you're seeing things every day that you have never seen before and questions around it or just things I never thought about. Like, you know, there's individuals with gut issues and that has to do with your diet too. So
100%.
I'm glad that you dig deeper into that because I think for a lot of people, the perception is, well, yeah, if I need to go and lose some weight or obviously take better care of my health and eat and what to eat, then I would go and see a dietitian.
And I think gut health, I'm glad you brought that up because that is extremely important. Yeah. So as women, for example, we go for mammograms, pap smears, men may go for PSA tests and so on. We ask our doctor to check our cholesterol and so on, but one organ that we really don't think very much about is our gut. Yeah. But our gut health is super central to our overall health. We need a diet that's high in fiber, that's varied, that has a variety of different foods to keep the bacteria in the gut healthy. The families of bacteria, they need to be balanced and harmonious. Yeah. When we eat a lot of processed foods, if we drink a lot of alcohol and smoke, if we don't eat regularly, eat a diet that's high in fiber, for example, our gut microbes, which is fancy name for that is your microbiome, that balance is not where it needs to be. That harmony is not where it needs to be. And for that balance and harmony to be there, we have to get, you know, those things in the diet, but also sometimes we may benefit from something like a probiotic, which is a compound that you can take for approximately a month, and it helps to restore that integrity of the gut. And when our gut integrity is good, then the gut is happy. Yeah. And when our gut is happy, it actually helps promote our health significantly. Yeah. So, you know, looking after our gut health is something that we don't think about, but it's of much importance in terms of your general health.
Love that. I think the gut became a very big topic after James, for whatever reason. I found that was a very searched topic on the internet when James Vanderbeek, when he passed away.
Ah, yes, he had cancer.
That became a very huge topic for that month.
Okay.
Sadly, when he passed away because of that. And I think the reason behind it was because that was the first thing that stood out to him when he needed to go to the doctor and get a checkup. It was his gut. Like he had issues with his gut, right? So
there's a lot of people with things like IBS, irritable bowel syndrome, you know, just general, the gut is not happy. Yeah. And so, again, that comes back to diet, nutrition, fiber, things Mia was alluding to, variety, balance, taking probiotic when needs be, limiting alcohol, not smoking. And another thing that impacts that as well significantly, believe it or not, is sleep. Sleep and stress and sleep hygiene. And I know we're kind of going off the diet nutrition topic a little bit, but that's very central to healthy lifestyle.
Yeah. All right. We're learning a lot from this. I like it so far. What is a medical nutrition therapy? I know we spoke about this when you guys came to see me in the morning show, but can you explain that in layman terms?
So medical nutrition therapy is evidence-based, personalized nutrition tweaks or information or adjustments to your diet. So things that are going to make a big impact. And it kind of speaks to the power of nutrition, which is our theme for for this year's Nutrition Month. So it's a really big part of what we do as dietitians. So focusing on medical nutrition therapy can be really helpful for managing those chronic illnesses and things like that, or preventing them from continuing on. So if someone has prediabetes, trying to slow that down or bring it back and bring the A1C back into a normal range.
Yeah. Who benefits from this? What type of patient would you say benefit from this therapy?
Everyone.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, even when we're advising patients, I mean, they may come in thinking, oh, well, I'm going to speak to them about diabetes or my cholesterol, but we think deeper than that and think, okay, we might get onto the subject. When we're talking about fiber, yes, we're talking about how it can help you control your post-meal spikes, but we're also thinking about your microbiome. We're also thinking about preventing your cholesterol from climbing. We may not verbalize that to the individual in the chair in front of us, but we are already working behind the scenes in terms of when we're promoting specific things in the diet. That is the reasoning, the scientific evidence-based reasons behind us making recommendations. Sometimes people will hear, oh, she always says brown bread. Or she always says brown rice. She never not says brown rice. But that's because there's very sound scientific evidence to support that recommendation.
Yeah.
Eventually, after you've maybe seen us 20 times, you might eventually agree to go to brown rice.
With it.
But we're always going to try. We're going to keep trying.
Let's stay on that topic because you guys mentioned vegetables a lot, fruits a lot. How can that be incorporated in our meals?
That could be incorporated into any and every meal, really. So if it's breakfast, we can always, if we're having eggs, we can add some extra veggies into an omelet, or if it's oatmeal, we can always add some extra berries or something like that. I've even had some people put in some vegetables into their porridge. I haven't tried it yet myself, but that's okay.
It's the only way I would eat it.
With vegetables?
Yeah. No, not vegetables, on fruits.
Oh,
okay.
Yeah, the only way I would do it for some reason, like I when I grew up, my grandma used to force me to eat porridge, and I just couldn't stand it.
Mm-hmm.
But then a lot of the restaurants here, they add fruits and blend those into it. It's good. It's really good. Yeah.
And it can help you cut back on that added sugar, right?
Exactly. It's something because for a lot of people, they don't like eating it because of the flavor of it, right? But the fruits, I kind of feel like it takes it away in some ways.
Yeah, and I
For
mean,
me.
traditionally, I think the way it's made in Cayman is with sweet milk, fat milk, sweet milk.
Yeah.
Sometimes nutmeg or cinnamon is added as well. Sometimes salt.
Yeah.
Some people like to make it with salt. So like anything we prepare, it's what we add to it can change. So the oatmeal is amazing. It can help you with cholesterol. It's high in fiber. It's a source of soluble fiber. So it's very beneficial in lots of ways. But by the time we're finished prepping it, we might have altered that a little bit by some of the additions. So use less, find alternatives, limit the added sugar and salt if you can. And then there's things like peanut porridge, hominy porridge made with corn. You know, these are high in fiber just by themselves.
Yeah.
But when you add a lot of the sweet milk to it, then we might be changing it up a little bit. But you'll maybe think about adding some water and then just a little tip of the vat milk or sweet milk at the end. Will change the way it tastes, of course. It's maybe not the way you love it, but you still know you're getting a version of it that's healthier.
Absolutely.
And that can be good and motivating to keep it going, you know?
Absolutely. I like this. This has been a really good conversation. I know we're coming close to the end, but one of the things I do want to talk about is how can people eat healthy on a budget. We did speak about this on my morning show, but this is a very important one, especially now when we look at the news and we see that we're not getting any better when it comes to the cost of living. So how can we eat better on a budget?
I'm a big fan of incorporating frozen fruits and vegetables where possible because they're not going to go bad, for one, because that's one of the most disappointing things is you spend the money on some fresh vegetables and then in a day or two they're not looking as cute as they did when you bought them, right? So the frozen fruits and vegetables, they're not going to go bad. So you can just throw them into whatever you're already cooking without really having to think about it. You can just dump them in. I get a variety of different packs, and then I'll just I'll take a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and just kind of jazz it up a little bit that way. And you're not spending the same amount of money that you would have on a fresh vegetable per se. You can always, we want to think about what we can add to things instead of what we're taking away, of course. But in terms of the budget, we can always add things like the lentils or beans, as Simone had been saying.
And even if you do have space or yard or garden, and you can grow either some herbs or pumpkin, or you can have a banana tree or a green banana or a plantain grown, or even in your neighborhood, someone may have callaloo, or so you might say, I'll send my son round to wash your car if you give me a whole bunch of caroling. The good old bartering days.
Yeah.
But, local, seasonal, homegrown. And obviously we know the farmers market is there, and you have the Ag Show every year where they sell a great selection of vegetables and even fruits to grow in your yard. So we would encourage people, and it's better for food security on island because we know we import so much here that we have, unfortunately, not a lot of food security. And I know the Department of Agriculture is really working on improving that food security scenario. But even within ourselves, we could try growing some things in our yard if we have the opportunity. And even if you don't have a yard, you have a balcony or even just a nice sunny window, there's still some things that you could even grow there.
Yeah.
And that would bring nutrition. But there's nothing wrong with eating local starches and brown provisions and breadfruit. It's still about the balance, how
Ways
it's
to
cooked
say
and
it.
the balance.
I love that. There's so many different ways that you can add this into your monthly budget and not overspend, right? So it's a big deal. I wanna definitely end with this topic because I think it's a very important one before we end the show. But how can parents encourage healthy eating in their children? I think that's the best way to end this show today.
I love this one.
Yeah.
Getting kids involved in the preparation is a huge one. I've even had, I might not have ended the preparation as the same way as I started, but I've had my 3-year-olds try and wash tomatoes. She might have taken a bite of a couple of them, but it's fine.
Yeah. Love it.
Enthusiasm.
Yeah.
I mean, what can I say? I'm not mad that she ate some tomato, right?
Yeah.
And trying to do family meals as much as you can, right? So sitting at the table, not necessarily saying like, oh, you need to have one more bite of the broccoli, but all just sitting at the table, not necessarily like focusing on the food as much, but like sitting, talking, and having that family time can be really big.
Yeah, I love that.
And even planning fun things like family activities. So if you're planning to go to the beach, but maybe plan around a picnic and say, well, let's not stop at where on the way back. Let's have a family picnic. And let's say, what would you like to bring? What would you like to bring? And they can help bring the items down to the beach, lay out the towel. It's kind of fun. There's just something fun about having a picnic on the beach.
Yeah.
It never loses its charm for some reason.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
And what you drink becomes important as well. Water, but also trying to make sure that we're staying away from some of those high sugary, you mentioned, I think, earlier about those energy drinks.
Yes. A lot of that.
Caffeine, very high caffeine, not ideal at all. And so, if it is a juice and it's a homemade juice, diluting it with water, you've got coconut water, which is really good as well. And just good old fashioned water.